taught me how to be prepared, preparation. He's like, don't worry, Mon, I'll prepare you, you'll be fine, you know, I'll just guide you. Well, I'm being literally thrown into this, but this is like the hottest topic. I think it's the sexiest topic is sales because it's not what I thought it was when I was thinking about sales. In fact, I didn't even know what a sales process was. I had no idea what that word meant. I was very green, and I think in a lot of ways it served me well, not knowing coming in, not having to reinvent anything. I literally surrendered to Arash, his direction. I know I'm a great student of this. Like yesterday, he was saying you got it, or first day, was yesterday? Yeah. Was it just yesterday? Well, day one, he was saying you got to be a great number 3, great student, then you become a 2, and then you become a great number 1. So I made a decision earlier on that I was very passionate about this. And the reason why when I heard Arash teach it, he made it seem so easy and effortless. And I thought, the moment I heard him speak, I have to learn from this man. He is my mentor. I know on some faith level, it was something magical was about to happen. And one of my core values, we were talking about core values yesterday, is passion. I bring passion into everything I do. I think it's really important. I like to keep the passion alive, so I'm always working on my presentation. I'm mastering it. I'm never there because there's always gaps. The biggest question I think all of you guys can ask yourself when you go through a sales presentation, if you win or lose, especially if you lose, ask yourself, would you have sold Arash? And that's one of the questions I ask myself. Okay, would Arash have bought from me? Would I've sold him? And it's something that keeps me to the fire, to keep me hungry for more. Or you can say, would you have sold Monica? Because to get through me now, I've developed this understanding on sales too. So, but sales, you know, I'm very passionate about my family, about my kids, about fitness, but here, what we do here at Voss for sure, but the sales process has stole a piece of my heart because, let me tell you why, it has helped me help thousands of our clients. If I did not follow this process that you just went through, which is very powerful, I would not have been able to help out thousands of our clients change their lives. I would not have been able to do that. And not only has it helped me help thousands of our clients, but it's helped me help our sales team and teach them how to study it properly, which I think that's what I'm going to teach you today is how I studied it, so you can go back home and learn how I developed the skills by how I studied it. And it also has helped me gain confidence, belief in myself. It's helped me develop a language, how to communicate with people. Like there's depth to the sales process. And I thoroughly love it because it is a system that works 100% of the time. When you follow that process, you will win. And this is something that has been proven over and over and over again. And I tell everybody, I was telling you, Karen, you know, this is so important because it teaches you how to sell you on you every day. Like every day you have to sell yourself. And that's the first point before you even sell anybody else. And so when I first started, I don't know, I'm very similar to Mikey's background. She didn't come from marketing. I did not come from sales. I was a hairstylist for 18 years, and I was booked solid. 6 months in advance, waiting list. If you canceled, you no way you can get in. But my retail was horrible. My boss would always be like pulling me into the back room and pointing out my numbers, and it was always horrible. But my calendar was fully booked. So on some degree, with the awareness that I have now, I can look back and I know that I had my own sales process. There's 2 things that I was following: the impression of increase and leaving everyone better off than I found them. I made every single person feel like they were my only client. I made them feel that important. I knew about them, their families. I gave them an experience for them to feel. So I was a master hairstylist, but not like others who had much more experience than me, but I was solidly booked. Well, looking back now, I know why. I was really good at selling me to them. And that's what you want to get good at. They're going to be buying you. They're going to be buying your confidence. They're going to be buying an experience. They want to come to the pros. They want to know that who they're on the phone with will change their life. I changed lots of people's lives, not by doing their hair, but how I made them feel. They could not wait to come back. So it's the same with this, with whatever industry you're in. When you learn the sales process, your results will really start to change. And I got to a point, I left hairstyling, my soul was saying, go, 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 go. I fell in love with this material and I wanted to sell it. And I was selling it for someone else for about 3 months. And I had to get out of that environment. I outgrew it very, very quickly. And I knew I was really stuck when I seeked out Arash and I flew to Arizona. He invited me alongside with my husband. I knew something was going to happen, and I had my letter, my vision. I was terrified. Like, you want to talk about the terror barrier? I was terrified. I'm like, who am I to do this? But I had a lot of courage. I had a lot of desire, and I knew I was stuck, and I knew something bigger and better was on the horizon. And he said yesterday, he said, it takes a lot of courage to think the opposite of doubts. And it's true. It takes a lot of courage to do that because I had to constantly pivot my thinking in that moment. And I remember handing him the letter, and he brought me on, and we were in the boardroom. Chris Stiller there, I don't know if you remember this. We were there, and we had to play one of your sales recording. And Arash was grading it in front of everybody. And this is me brand new going, oh, this is real. Like, this is like, oh my God. Like, Arash was picking it apart. So I had to make a decision in there, and I kept my calm face inside. I was shaking. But I said, I got to figure this out. And my motto with Arash was, I'm going to fall, I'm going to dust myself up, and I'm going to get back up. And that's where I went to work. He said one thing to me. He said, Monica, he said, what you do in private, you're going to get paid in public. Are you willing to practice this over 10,000 times? And I did. I said, yes, I have to. I have no other option. I can't go back to hairstyling. I can't go back to whatever else I was doing, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So most sales professionals, I think their faulty is not following a process. That's lacking their mastery in this. They're not following it, or they get ahead of it and they start reinventing the wheel. I stuck to this process I still do, but I didn't shift away from it to get really creative until after 3 years. So I really put in the time, the effort on mastering it, where it became effortless, it became easy, and it became just an automatic way of talking to people. So even on coaching calls, Karen, when we were talking about this, I said, this is going to become your new way of just talking and transferring ideas to other people. Like, it's very simple when it becomes an automatic habit. So I did the first step of transcribing every single call. And Arash says, I want you to study this until you get sick and tired of my voice. And I'm like studying this after 3 years. I'm like, I'm not tired of this yet. He's like, keep going, right? So I kept listening and transcribing, and I had pages and pages. I have a picture of 2015 of my wall, and I printed it out. I would study it in front of a mirror. I would study in front of that wall. I would give out presentations to myself. I would walk around. I would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning just studying and keep going over this over and over and over again. I wanted to go to that next level. I made a decision that I wanted to be right next to Arash, number 2, because if you're number 2, you're basically number 1, because like he said, there's no one going to outperform him. So that was my target. I came in with this big, massive idea, and I broke it down to working at it every single day. And I would get on calls, and I would mess up. Like, some of those calls were really, really bad. But I kept picking up the phone and kept going back and kept looking at what needed to be done and where I was getting stuck. And I would call Arash and I said, what would you do here? I listened to this recording. And the cool thing about listening to, whether you listen to yourself to pick up what you need to course correct, or you listen to one of your mentors who's giving you your recordings, you're going to pick up something in your back pocket that you can use 6 months in advance. Like, even through what we're learning here, or if you're in any of our programs, you're going to learn something that you can pull out and help people with their paradigms. And you don't know when that time is going to be, but that's the power of repetition. That's the power of committing to self-mastery. And when I went to our first event, this is before getting on Arash's team, I walked in the back room, there was Bob, and there was Arash on screen. He was on a t-shirt and his baseball cap backwards. And I looked at this guy, I said, this is my mentor. And I think at that point, I don't think he really knew who I was, maybe knew of my name, I'm not sure. But I just knew that I was gonna learn from him. And they told us not to record in that session because they were gonna give us out the recording. Well, I wanted to back myself up, so I recorded it on my phone, and that's the call that I studied over and over and over again. And it helped me out tremendously at that point, and then getting the calls from Arash, I would put in hours, like hours and hours, and now I've done thousands of presentations. But it really takes the practice of doing the repetition. Like, who's willing to do that over 10,000 times and still keep going even when you've hit a mastery level? And I think most sales professionals, I know they need a process. They need to follow something. It's going to give them confidence. It's going to give their call order, structure. But you're going to get to a point in your call where it becomes really effortless and flow. So you don't want to be able to, on your calls, thinking about, what do I have to say next? I'm going to be stuck. Oh, what do I do next? Because then your presentation won't be in flow. So that's why you want to go home and start figuring out your presentation. What is it going to be? What does it sound like? Write it out. Transcribe it, practice it on yourself in the mirror or with someone who's willing to listen. And when you do that, you're going to figure out things that are your gaps that you need to work on. You got to be honest with yourself. And you have a lot of help here too. You know, anyone that needs help with that, you just have to ask, this is where I'm being stuck on my presentation, and we can help you out with that. I'm very, very transparent with that with anyone I work with. But that's my journey. That's how I studied. I studied it over and over again, multiple times. I have a journal of objections too, where I would be stuck. And I would write out, okay, this is my common objection. I would pick Arash's mind. What would he say? And then I would study that. So it's going to come up. You ever face the same objections over and over again? People come up with the same ones? Yeah? Well, it's because you haven't learned how to overcome that properly. There's a lesson in there for you to learn. And once you have that, you have different tools you can pull out, then you'll be able to help those people out. So the sales process is not just a process, it's something that has really transformed my life, my confidence, my belief, helping all of you guys out. But I want you to first, number one, change your belief around what sales is. If you had a sales experience that probably maybe gives you a bad feeling around sales, then I would attack that first. Figure that what that is, your belief around it, so you can alter and shift it and understand that selling is serving, selling is helping. Okay? Yes, so does anyone have any questions? Mm-hmm.
So in the practice, because Kay and I work together, we've been practicing back and forth with each other, and there's a lot of objections, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we're practicing, we're kind of client, consultant, and going back and forth. Did you have someone that you were practicing giving you different specific objections, or are you guys, because we're just kind of free flowing. The consultant is the one trying to stay on point, and then the other person is the potential client.
Yeah.
How did you guys go through that? Because I feel like we're getting into kind of we're running out of ideas as to who the client is, right? When we practice back and forth. So just repetition of the same, or keep trying to come up with different objections?
Yeah, come up with different objections or simulate, different scenarios. But more importantly is, how are you going to fire back? Why don't you start practicing being 4 steps ahead of that objection during your simulations? If they're the common objections, which is time, money, or spousal, those are probably the 3 most common ones. Well, let's see how you can get 4 steps ahead of that. It's going to come up. So as Kay is coming through her wants, she may tell you, where she's stuck. Mm-hmm. Well, you can pick up the prospect's paradigms. You can pick up the objections that are probably going to come up. Now that's probably your next level of growth in your sales presentation, is to be 4 steps ahead of that. So you can overcome objections before they even come up. Like if someone says, oh, I haven't taken vacation in like 4 years because, my income, this and that, right? Well, you know that you can jump ahead of that and say, well, what's going to change? If you don't change today, nothing's going to change. That's the whole reason why we have to get you to understand how money works, how to circulate it properly. Because if not, nothing's going to change. Like you just overcome them from stopping from investing because nothing's going to change if they don't change, right? So you can that's probably your next phase of growth is getting 4 steps ahead.
Is it true that you got scolded by Bob Proctor because you did hair in front of him?
Oh yeah, is that what you want me to say? Yeah. yeah. So we were at in Toronto, and old habits die hard. So as a hairstylist for 18 years, we went into the hair salon. We were there picking up Sandy, and she's trying to curl her hair, and she's having a hard time. And it was just like, it was itchy. You know how Rash says if we don't make a sale, we kind of get that itch? True. Well, I was like, God, I got to help her out. Like, she's struggling. So I just automatically went up to her, and I grabbed the flat iron, and I showed her how to curl it. And Bob's like, ooh, you could still have the hairdresser in you. And that was my wake-up call going, ooh, I have to work on my image. So I really eliminated it. And family was interesting with my transition in my career because it's like, oh, just do my hair, we're family, just do my hair. I had to say no. I had to really say no because it was still lingering. Every time I did it, it was still lingering, and I'm not willing to do that. Like when you commit to your self-image, you have to commit with your whole heart. I had to burn those bridges. I had to say goodbye to that old me. And how many times did you say, you're not that hairdresser anymore, stop thinking like that? Lots. And there's a lot of times that I would go to him because I just didn't feel confident with certain calls. Like for example, men, powerful men. It was very difficult for me to be ahead of that and be in the power position, in the control position. So it was just driving me crazy, and I kept just ignoring it. I'm like, I am losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year just on these one calls. I'm like, I got to get stronger in this. And I went to work on that. And, I had to purify my heart. Like he talked yesterday, I had to purify my heart on quite a few times in my journey here. But it's the best thing, not just how I help out everyone, but who I have become. I'm very proud of that because now I can help out and lead. I came in with that, I'm going to inspire a lot of people who come from no sales experience, no sales background. I'm going to inspire people. I'm going to be that role model where I can show them what's possible when you fully surrender and you have desire and you have passion. You just really want to help other people out. It is the love of my life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you come up against a block or a paradigm, like you said, powerful men, so how do you purify your heart? I mean, I get it with hairdressing, you just say no.
Yeah.
When you have a personality type that maybe, suppresses you or something, what do you?
Yeah, so I call it slaying the dragon now. So Arash and I went to work on slaying my dragon. I had this big triggers that happened from my past, and I gotta like really slay this part and get rid of it. And it felt like a dragon. It was very, very, very strong. And it was literally 2 steps. He said, Monica, I want you to change your attitude towards yourself and change your attitude towards it, meaning the situation. And I went to work, and no joke, Sharon, within 3 months, I fully abandoned the habits, the behaviors, the triggers. Like, I'm so far from that person. They don't come up at all anymore, at all. And that's more freeing. Like, that mental freedom is so freeing. That's the price of freedom, is to go do that work. No, I literally just shifted the attitude towards myself. I had to write that down. Okay, what's the attitude towards myself, towards the situation? How do I really feel towards myself, towards it? And then change my attitude towards the situation. So towards myself and towards that situation. I had to shift that perspective. I came in feeling really sorry for myself because I was stuck. I played the victim role really well. I felt really sorry for myself earlier on. And I had to purify a lot of things along the way. And the cool thing about the sales process, what I found, might get emotional, it actually healed me. It really healed me. Like, I'm very passionate about it because it healed a lot of me because I remember Bob saying the best way you can help yourself solving your problem is by helping solve other people's problems. I can't tell you how many challenges or adversity I was facing or triggers or past beliefs would come up, and I'd get on a call and all of a sudden the weight would be lifted off my shoulders. Like, geez, you know, like it just felt good and freeing to help someone else. And I was able to, as I'm coaching them and helping them, I'm healing myself because I'm literally coaching myself at the same time as I'm coaching someone else. So that's how I did it. I mean, there's a lot of auto-suggestion there, like a lot. Like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm making one or more every day. Like, the daily goal is very important to me. I auto-suggested that so many times, and there was lots of months that I saw no results. I kept falling, kept getting back up. And then all of a sudden, you keep putting in the effort, putting in the work, and all of a sudden a new paradigm is formed, and you're making 1 sale a day, every single day, and then it turns to 2 sales every day, and then 5 sales every day. So, you know, the daily goal is just as important, like Arash said, as the yearly goal and the 3-month goal, like breaking it down. It gives your mind direction, it gives your mind focus, it gives your mind, you know, it's urgency as well. Yeah.
Give examples of how you respond to those basic objections.
Which ones do you get?
I need to think about it, or I'll talk about that a little bit, or money one, or spouse.
Yeah. Well, what's there to think about? You just told me you want to earn $100,000 a month, and you don't know how to do it yourself. What's there to think about? Like, if you get off the phone with me, you're not hurting my feelings at all. I'm going to continue to help people, but you came on the phone looking for help. If you don't change 3 months from now, you're still going to be stuck. Like, don't you think it's time you said enough is enough and really go after this? Because if not now, when? You know, like, but you can't just have one for, like, everything is so unique in its own way. But this is where I came up with some common objections that I could start the flow of that, Jenna, and then I could add on that relates to that person as well.
Maybe I'm pretty sure I want to do it, but I just need to crunch the numbers. I feel like it's like the spousal objection, like 80% of the time that's not really what.
No, well, okay, well, you know what, we can break this up into payments. Like, what can you put down on it? I asked them that right away, like, what can you put down on it? Right? They should know. Or if someone says, oh, I don't have my wallet on me, I don't know who drives without their wallet or who doesn't have their wallet, and they're like, no. Like, and I said to people, listen, I don't care if you're lying to me, but lying to yourself, you're doing a lot of damage. Right? You know, you just got to be direct with them, you know, and your tone is going to be really important. Some people have gotten really upset at me and, you know, maybe pissed off, sure, fine, but then they came back calling me going, thank you for that. I needed that wake-up call, you know, and that's really special too. And some don't, you know, they just are in their own head, and that's okay. I know in my heart, though, I do it with the right intentions. I work in harmony with the laws, so I know I did it in the right way. And there was times that I went learning early on, I was willing to fail. I had to, like Arash would stretch me, like go to that next level. And I'd be like, and then I would do it. And I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Like, we make it bigger in our heads sometimes than it has to be. People are hungry for that direction. They're hungry to learn, and they want that direct, because most people are just saying, oh yeah, you can do this, like the cheerleader part, but they need that directness as well, definitely.
And why do you guys do phone rather than Zoom?
Just that's how we always have. I think Zoom is much easier. You can read. I think although on the phone you're developing skills that you can't on Zoom, like your listening skills. The amount that you learn just in listening without seeing them is very, very special. Very special. So we were in Chicago with Arash, and no, it was in Toronto actually, and there was a big riot downtown Toronto. There was all these horns, and it was like massive, massive, massive noise. And Arash was just walking the streets. I'm like, I can't hear. He's like, I'm fine. He's like, you should be able to be in a concert or in this type of noise and still be able to have your thoughts. And that was years of developing his skills on listening and being in tune with himself. But doing it over the phone, you're going to develop more skills because you can't read their facial expressions. You can't, you know, you have to listen to their hesitations. You have to listen to when they kind of like grasp a little bit, and you can pick up, oh, what was that? You know, I just felt the energy shift. What's going on there? You can actually ask them, but you should be ahead of that, understanding what's actually going on. What you're doing is just getting them aware that they just shifted. Something just happened, and you're the pro. You picked that up. That's why. Some of my team was like, they just want to do it on Zoom. And I challenge them all the time. No, we do it over the phone. Develop those skills, because you're going to go more in depth on understanding people and the psychology around it as well. Yeah.
How do you record, like if you wanted to listen to your own call to pick up on what you did well, what you did work on? How do you
Yeah. What do we use?
There's different recording softwares for Skype, for, depending if you have a Skype number, even for WhatsApp. If you use WhatsApp a lot, there's recorders out there. Some of them are pretty inexpensive.
I know people have a hard time with that. I don't know. Do you use anything, Memo, for that?
I mean, there's a software too, but sometimes when I'm on a computer, I just do recording on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But if you're on the phone, that's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I always heard Bob say, only change one paradigm at a time. Two goals max, but like, as a salesperson, I'm constantly on the go, always running sales appointments and whatnot. I feel like when I focus on one area, it excels, but I let the other two fall. And then when I pick the other one, then this one kind of drops. For example, like when I'm constantly on the go, I'll do pretty, like I always see you posting on Instagram and I think it's awesome, always working out and, all this stuff. And like I work out consistently, but when I'm running a bunch of appointments, sometimes I have like cheat meals and then I'm like, I start yo-yoing and I gain like an extra 5 pounds or whatever it is. So, like, would you suggest, is it possible to really, I always hear a rush, say play the end game. I want to make time where like, if I feel not overwhelmed, but if I'm just running appointment after appointment after appointment and I'm on the go and I'll catch myself grabbing like a protein burger from In-N-Out or I don't know. How do you like balance all that?
You got to set boundaries. And I love hard work. Like I have really strong work ethic. I don't mind working long hours, but I also have to serve me. Because if I take care of me, then I can serve my clients better. So don't think that you have to do more. You just get it more effective at what you're doing. I created my whole entire career, my whole entire income around the schedule of my kids. I drop them off to school, I pick them up, and then I work out. Like those are the 3 major things every single day that I commit to me and what's important to me, because I want to be there. But when I started, like the first 3 years, I was all in on this completely. And I really developed that grit really well for that, but it gave me the freedom. So you have to put in that time as well. But if you can start now, Vladimir, really carving out those boundaries for yourself and be really effective, I bet you have a lot of busy work too, and you're not very effective. That's how you can get better. You gotta look at those gaps. So you can tighten up your calendar and get yourself better as well.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, we've had that conversation a few times, right? So, yeah.
Sometimes you have a prospect that don't sign with you, but you really want to help them. You think about them, you want to help them. So what would you suggest to do in this case?
Yeah, well, you can't want it more for them than they want it, okay? Like, as long as you know that you've done everything. I'm very detached. Like, if someone says yes and then they say no after, or they say they're wishy-washy and they're like, I'll think about it, I'm very detached. I really, really am. That's coming from abundance and prosperity. Like, there's a lot of people we can help, but you can't want it more from them. I remember Bob saying one thing to me: a person convinced against their will is still of the same. Like, if you're constantly having to convince them, then it's gonna be a lot of headache, for sure. So, but if you want it more for them, then you have to go back and give, like, you have to be better at giving value, so you don't come off feeling that call, like, oh, they should have done it. You should never feel that way. Like, I know I give them everything on that call, absolutely everything. Like, that's what they deserve. They just carved out 30 minutes of their time for me. Well, I better show up with my best. And whatever happened in my personal life, if I've got something going on, like we lost our fathers last year, and I still continued showing up for our events, recording, and our sales calls. like it healed me, part of that. But I knew I gave it my all. Like I showed up as a pro. Nobody knew what I was going through. So you have to get better at the value you're adding, but don't have anything clouding your mind going into it.
Yeah.
That's probably the two parts to that answer there. Because you're probably too attached to it, and then you're bringing other stuff on where you're not giving the proper value full out.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If people have to think about it or ask their boss about money, right? If you follow-
Sorry, my ears are plugged. I can't hear you.
If people say, I'm gonna think about it.
Yeah.
Or they have to ask their boss for money if
Yeah.
they do a corporate. Do you follow up? How much do you push on follow up for booking a new meeting, or do you let them?
I intuitively feel that out. If they say, oh, I have to think about it, I just got to talk. Like there's sometimes they actually do have to talk to their spouse.
Sure.
Like, yes, absolutely. And I feel that out. And there's other times I say, okay, you know what? Is that really the truth, or is that just what your
I mean,
paradigm is
after-
saying?
after the call,
And then
after-
after the call, I'll say, okay, you know what? I don't go the next day. I said, okay, you know what? Let's talk in about an hour, 2 hours from now.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, no, quick. Yeah. Like everything is quick and urgent. So if they say I have to talk to my boss or I have to talk to my spouse, I'll say, okay, you know what? Let's talk this evening at 6
Yeah.
o'clock.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they'll be like, oh, well, I won't see them until tomorrow, you know, or whatever. Then I kind of feel that out. But I won't let them go more than 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they want to go more than 24 hours, what do you say? They're like, oh, I've got this and this and this, how about a week from now?
Well, I'll coach them on urgency, number one. Like I will pounce on urgency, on do it now is our motto, and I coach them deeply on that. There's a lot of importance on, doing it in the moment, because if not, you're transferring, I don't believe I can do this, I don't trust myself, but I let them go. Like then you're gonna get into convincing. I had someone say, okay, I'll think about it, I'll call you back in about a month. I'm like, a month? Like I literally responded that way. I'm like, you might as well wait a year, like a month. I said, you know what we can teach you in 1 month? It'll shock you. Your results will change just like that in a month. So, and then I coached them why they chose a month. Yeah.
Producer's point, if they don't respond to that, you don't say, well, do you say, okay, I'll call you in a week, or you just totally?
Oh, no, I won't call them back in a week. No. Like I let them come back.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not going to go chase that. Absolutely not. No. I think that's part of yours though. Like you come off wanting to be really friends with them, and yes, be friendly, but you have to be the pro at the same time. That's the gap for
It is.
your sales.
It's like not wanting to feel like I'm pressuring.
No, you don't put a pressure. You put a standard on your calls. There's a big difference. You don't pressure them. You give them the value. You put a standard on what you're going to give them where they're hungry. Like there's no option. Like one of the things is I don't give them an option to say no. Like that's my standard. Right?
Monica, just going back to the slaying the dragon thing, one thing that I'll never forget is I asked you to come on a call to help me one time.
Yeah.
And it was a very arrogant, know-it-all man.
Oh, yeah.
And you came on the call and you said to him, I don't hear a confident man, I hear a scared little boy.
Yeah.
And you sold him. And you sold him, and that's when I was like, wow, she is a beast.
Oh, you didn't just slay that dragon. You cremated it.
But I was honest, and I could not do that when I first started. No, there's no way. But this is where intuition, this is where our higher faculties that we're developing. There's so much depth to the sales process, not just the steps. Like you have to fall in love with it. There's so much more to it. So like I sold this guy saying, no, you're a scared little boy. Well, that was risky, but I'm willing to take those risks to help them, But like I said, some people would not want to, they would hang up on me, right? But over time and over practice, over failure after failure, you learn what works and what doesn't work with what type of personality. So, yes. All right, awesome. Great. Well, this is a great day too. We're going to be out for dinner tonight, so we'll go back now and get ready. You're going to close it off? Okay, perfect.